Leo, radiant soul of the Zodiac, welcome home. Your biggest day of change is approaching, and the moment you've been sensing in your heart is no longer far away. Today's reading is not just a message, it's a mirror held up to your destiny, a call from the universe for you to rise, shift, and embody the light you were born to carry. If you've landed here on July 6th, 2025, or even a little before or after, it's no accident. Something bigger than coincidence brought you to this very moment. Whether it was a sudden urge to click this video, a feeling you couldn't explain, or a voice deep inside whispering, "Watch this," I want you to know, you are exactly where you're meant to be. This isn't just another horoscope. What's unfolding this week from July 7th to the 13th is nothing short of a cosmic breakthrough. Uranus, the planet of radical change, has entered Gemini for the first time in 84 years, opening an energetic doorway that affects your 11th house, your dreams, your social circles, and your future legacy. When Pluto, the planet of transformation, forms a rare trine from your 7th house of partnerships, and Jupiter stirs the depths of your 12th house of soul, healing, and endings, Leo, your life will not be the same. You may already feel it. A stirring. A pressure. A knowing. Like something is rising within you that you can't ignore anymore. And I want to ask you something. From one awakened heart to another, what is it that you secretly hope is possible for you right now? What truth about yourself are you finally ready to admit? What chapter is your soul begging you to begin? This video will guide you through that transformation. And I say guide, not predict, because you still have the power. Astrology does not decide your fate, it simply reveals the energy. What you do with that energy, that's where your freedom begins. And that's what this channel, Eternal Mindfulness, is here to honor. We're not just here to tell you what might happen. We're here to walk beside you as you choose what happens next with courage, self-trust, and a heart open to divine timing. Before we dive deeper, let me take a moment to say this: thank you. Thank you for being here. Every like, every comment, every time you share or subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness, it deepens your connection to this soul-aligned community. It's your way of saying, yes, I want to live with intention. I want to understand myself. I want to grow. And trust me, Leo, especially you will want to stay with me until the very end of this video, because what the cosmos is revealing this week is breathtaking. The kind of truth that doesn't just shift your mind, it awakens your entire path. So now let me ask you, what was it, dear Leo, that drew you here today? What energy, seen or unseen, brought you to this exact moment? Comment below and confirm it. Claim your place in this unfolding story by simply writing, "I am ready for change." Because you are. And the universe is ready for you, too. There are moments in life when the ground beneath us doesn't shake, but we feel it has shifted. This is one of those moments. The current cosmic alignment isn't just a spectacle in the sky. It is a silent invitation for you to step into something greater than you've known before. With Uranus entering Gemini after 84 years, the energy is electric, restless yet liberating. It calls not for immediate answers but for bold questions. In the realm of your 11th house, where dreams are seated in the collective field and relationships with your soul tribe are forged, this planetary movement doesn't just suggest change, it insists upon it. You may feel a sudden impulse to detach from certain social dynamics that once felt secure. Or perhaps your vision for the future no longer fits neatly into the frame you once carefully constructed. That's not a failure of the planets, the soul's deeper knowing reminding you that evolution rarely feels tidy. Like a gust of wind lifting the edge of a curtain to reveal a broader horizon, Uranus in this house gently disrupts you so that you may see farther, clearer, and with more curiosity. It is not about rebellion for the sake of difference. It is about rediscovering what is truly yours beyond the conditioning of expectation. And then there's Pluto, trining from your 7th house, casting its transformative gaze onto your relationships. This is not about surface-level partnerships. This is where you're being asked, who mirrors your truth? Who challenges your growth? Sometimes the people who come into our lives during these alignments do not stay, but their arrival reshapes us forever. You might meet somebody, a mentor, a lover, a challenger who activates something ancient and raw within you, stirring a hunger for honesty that you didn't know you needed. This alignment, though subtle, works like fire to metal. The heat isn't always comfortable, but it forges a sharper, truer edge. Meanwhile, Jupiter quietly moves through your 12th house in Cancer, illuminating your subconscious landscape with the gentle light of closure and introspection. What stories have you carried for too long? What beliefs about your worth, your timing, your not enoughness, are ready to dissolve? Jupiter here brings a soft unraveling, like silk threads loosening from a tightly woven knot. It doesn't rip, it releases. And in that release, healing rushes in, not as an explosion, but as a steady stream. You are not being asked to force change, only to allow it. At the same time, the North Node rests in Pisces in your 8th house, where intimacy meets surrender, and personal power is no longer measured by control but by one's capacity to trust the unseen. This is the house of deep regeneration, where your inner alchemy begins. It asks, are you ready to release the version of you that was built from fear? Are you willing to let go, even if you don't know what's next? The wisdom here lies not in clinging to identity, but in recognizing that nothing truly valuable can be lost, only transformed. As one old path disintegrates beneath your feet, you begin to remember that the next one isn't paved in certainty, but in presence. That's where real wealth begins, not in accumulation, but in essence. What's unfolding in your chart right now isn't a series of disconnected events. It's a carefully orchestrated unraveling, timed not by the clock, but by the readiness of your soul. You don't have to rush to understand it all. You don't have to chart the entire journey. Just notice the invitations. Notice what feels heavy, and what feels like air. The purpose of this cosmic moment is not to overwhelm you, but to bring you closer to the edge of your becoming, and to remind you gently, but firmly, that the unknown is not the enemy. It is the doorway. And you are already holding the key. When the light of awareness begins to rise within us, it rarely comes with noise or fanfare. More often, it appears as a quiet Clarissa, sudden stillness in the mind, or a single question echoing from within. Who am I, really? And just like that, the world no longer looks the same. With Mercury now moving through Leo, the sign that rules the heart, self-expression, and radiant presence, a profound shift is taking place in how you relate to your own voice. You are being invited not only to speak, but to speak from a place so real, so rooted in your essence, that every word becomes an act of liberation. This is not about performance. It is about presence. Your story, your truth, your lived experience, these are not just memories or passing thoughts. They are bridges between your inner world and the collective heart. And Mercury in Leo reminds you that your voice, when aligned with your soul, has the power not only to inspire, but to ignite. This may be the week you finally decide to share your truth, through writing, a conversation you've been avoiding, a creative project you've postponed. Maybe it's time to launch that podcast, start the blog you've kept private, or open a YouTube channel to speak from the fire within. The impulse isn't random, it's your inner guide responding to the clarity Mercury brings. But even more important than how you speak is what begins to awaken in your silence. That timeless question, who am I, is more than philosophical. It's the beginning of true freedom. Not the freedom to become someone better, but to remember who you've always been beneath the masks. When this question arises with sincerity, it's as if the fog begins to lift. The roles you've played, the expectations you've carried, the fears you've borrowed from others, they begin to loosen their grip. You no longer strive to be extraordinary. You realize you already are. The magician appears here not as an illusionist, but as a mirror. He reminds you that all the tools you need to create, change, and heal already live within you: thought, emotion, intention, action. He points upward and downward as above, so below, calling your attention to the sacred link between the cosmos and your own will. You are not waiting for permission, you are remembering your power to choose. This is where law of attraction aligns not just with manifestation, but with mindfulness. When your thoughts and words are in harmony, the world bends to meet your clarity. Life becomes less about controlling outcomes, and more about aligning your inner vibration with the life you wish to live. The Chariot follows closely, asking, what are you still dragging behind you? You may be moving forward, yes, but are you also carrying the weight of past roles, limiting beliefs, or outdated stories? The Chariot does not rush, it moves with intention. And it can only soar when you release what is no longer yours to carry. Imagine a cart tied to stones from your past. You may push with all your might, but still feel stuck. Let go of the stones. Let go of the version of you that needed to prove, explain, or apologize. Your direction is clear when your mind is light. Sometimes, the most compassionate thing you can do for yourself is to begin again, not because you failed, but because you've grown. Think of your life as a scroll, constantly being written, edited, and rewritten by the choices you make in this very breath. In the quiet teachings passed from one generation to another, it is said that the self is not found in the future or the past, but in the moment you are fully present. When you are not grasping for something more or running from what was, you touch the still point. From there, new stories can be born, not from force, but from clarity. So I ask you gently now, if today were your blank page, how would you begin again? What would you write, not to impress, not to win, but to finally feel whole? Your voice is sacred, Leo. Use it not only to be heard, but to be true. And if this moment stirs something in you, let it be known. Share in the comments below, this is where I begin again. Your words may be the light someone else has been waiting to see. When love returns not in grand gestures, but through a quiet sense of recognition, we begin to understand the difference between attachment and connection. This phase of your journey, Leo, speaks not of fleeting romance but of a deeper soul awakening where the presence of another stirs something ancient and familiar inside you. As Pluto, Uranus, and Venus harmonize in a rare trine, the cosmos gently opens a door to emotional resurrection. This isn't just about falling in love with someone. It's about meeting someone who mirrors the part of you that you forgot existed, or perhaps never dared to claim. Sometimes, love appears not to complete you, but to remind you of your wholeness. The energy surrounding you now holds the potential for two powerful paths, either a sacred reunion with a love that once lost its way, or a release of a bond that no longer carries the rhythm of your becoming. Both are acts of love. Both require courage. To choose to stay and deepen, or to choose to walk away and trust that something greater awaits, is not a failure but a form of maturity. And as this week unfolds, the universe may place someone before you, someone who evokes that undeniable, inexplicable pull, as though you've known them across lifetimes. Whether it's someone entirely new or a familiar soul returning in transformed form, the impact will not be small. It will ask something of your heart that is real. The appearance of the Two of Cups in your reading is not a promise of fairy tale romance, it's a sacred invitation. This is the kind of connection where you don't just see someone, you remember them. You hear yourself in their laughter. You recognize the shadows they've battled, because they echo your own. This kind of love doesn't demand perfection. It invites vulnerability. And if you've been protecting your heart, Leo, this is the moment to ask, what would happen if you allowed yourself to be fully seen? Alongside it, the Queen of Pentacles grounds the fire with her gentle strength. She reminds you that love must not only bend, it must also nourish. Emotional maturity is not about constant intensity, but about knowing how to create safety, both for yourself and another. You may find that someone enters your life now who understands your inner world, not just through words, but through presence. Or perhaps you are becoming that person for someone else. Either way, it's not about being needed, it's about being known. The configuration between Juno, the Sun, and the North Node adds another layer, the promise of divine partnership. This isn't about chasing an ideal or finding the one. It's about aligning with someone who walks beside you in the same direction, not out of obligation, but out of resonance. This is why many Leos right now may find themselves stepping into commitments that feel predestined: marriage, contracts, shared visions. But just as equally, you may find yourself closing a chapter on someone who once felt like home but now feels like a former version of you. There is no wrong step here. The key is alignment, not attachment. Love is not meant to bend, it is meant to awaken. And sometimes, the most loving thing we can do is to let go of the version of ourselves that once settled for less. When you stop fearing loneliness, you begin to experience love not as a need, but as a blessing. And from that place, the people who arrive are not trying to fill a void. They are answering a call. So, dear Leo, let me ask you softly, have you ever loved someone without understanding why, yet felt them in the quiet between your thoughts? Have you ever stood before another and seen not just who they are but who you are becoming in their presence? If so, you are not alone in this journey. And if you are standing at the edge of that recognition now, don't run. Stay. Feel. Let it shape you. And if these words have stirred something in you, if you are in the middle of releasing or reuniting, of grieving or beginning, share your truth in the comments. I am ready for soul-aligned love. Your story is not just yours. It is a thread in the vast web of becoming, and someone else may need your light to find their way back to their own. When the full moon rises in Capricorn, especially through the lens of your 6th house, it doesn't just illuminate your schedule or workload, it casts light on the deeper rhythm of how you've been living. It asks you to pause and truly look. Are your daily actions nourishing the life you say you want? Or have you become so caught in routine, in performing productivity, that you've forgotten what purpose feels like? Leo, this moment in time is about release, not in a dramatic sense, but in the soft, powerful way of letting go what no longer serves your vitality. There's something deeply healing in recognizing that success isn't always tied to intensity or outward applause. Sometimes, success is the silent satisfaction of aligning your outer work with your inner truth. The full moon here may bring endings, perhaps the closing of a job chapter, a shift in responsibilities, or even a quiet but undeniable realization that what once fueled you no longer does. But these endings are not punishments. They're clearings, gentle yet firm invitations to reset the terms of your life. This is a powerful time to reflect on what feels rich, not just what looks successful. The Seven of Pentacles whispers that it's okay to take stock. Are you investing your energy, time, and skills into something that gives back to you, not just financially, but spiritually and emotionally? Sometimes we plant seeds that never grow because they were never meant for our soil. The Queen of Pentacles then steps in with grounded wisdom. She doesn't rush. She doesn't hustle to impress. She nurtures what matters and discards what distracts. Her presence in your reading is a reminder to come back to simplicity, health, stability, nourishment, joy. And this is where a deeper teaching emerges, one that echoes through many timeless philosophies. When the mind is quiet and the breath is steady, clarity returns. You're being invited to live with intention, not by force, but by presence. Waking each morning and taking even 10 minutes to breathe, to acknowledge 3 things you're grateful for, is not a luxury. It's a declaration that your inner world matters. It's the subtle shift that makes the outer transformation sustainable. Because the way you begin your day is often the way your life unfolds. Cutting back on stimulants like caffeine and choosing foods that give life instead of draining it is a small, radical act of self-love. Rewriting your dream job not based on what you think you should want, but what your body, your spirit, and your heart crave, is not indulgent. It's necessary. And taking small steps toward that vision, no matter how slow or uncertain, is an act of courage. Saturn retrograding in Aries adds a profound note here. It may feel like the brakes are being pulled on your ambitions, or that things aren't moving fast enough. But this cosmic moment isn't blocking you, it's refining you. It's reminding you that a long-term vision is worth the discomfort of starting over. Sometimes, the truest path is the one that shakes your voice as you speak it aloud. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to be willing to walk with your truth, even if your knees tremble. So, Leo, ask yourself softly, with love, what would it look like to create a life that honors your energy rather than depletes it? What would change if you began each week not with a to-do list, but with a question: does this align with the life I want to live? When you give yourself permission to ask, you begin to reclaim authorship over your path. And if you're at the edge of that shift now, uncertain but ready, leave a comment below. I'm choosing a life that feeds my soul. You never know, your quiet decision today might inspire someone else to believe in their own. When golden light begins to return to your awareness, Leo, it often does so not with a roar but with a whisper. That whisper can come through a certain color that catches your eye, a repeated number you can't explain, or a feeling you wake up with that lingers longer than the dream itself. These are not coincidences. They're the subtle brushstrokes of a universe that speaks not in noise, but in patterns. And you, being born under the sign ruled by the sun, have always had a unique ability to recognize these subtle frequencies when you allow yourself to slow down. This week, the golden hue is more than a style choice, it's a frequency. Gold holds the vibration of royalty, radiance, and core confidence. When you wear it, light a candle in its glow, or simply visualize it surrounding your heart, you're not just playing with aesthetics. You're reminding yourself of your inner sovereignty. The kind that doesn't need to prove or seek approval. It simply is. Let this color drape around you like a cloak, not of arrogance, but of remembrance. A reminder that you are not here to shrink in rooms where your spirit was meant to expand. On the opposite end, the soft turquoise calls to your inner stillness. It is the color of clear water, soft emotion when it becomes gentle wisdom, of thoughts when they soften into understanding. When you light a turquoise candle or wear something in this shade during moments of decision-making or quiet reflection, you allow your mind and intuition to meet in the same space. Not in conflict, but in conversation. It's in that space that answers arrive, not rushed, not forced but known. The great teachers have long taught that clarity arises not when we seek control, but when we release it. Turquoise invites that letting go, that space between doing and being. Then come the numbers. The one reminds you that this moment is a sedan invitation to step forward with courage, even if the outcome is still hidden. It is the breath before a leap, the note before a song begins. Paired with 19, you receive the full echo of renewal. It is no accident that 1 plus 9 reduces back to 1. This is not just a beginning, Leo, it's your beginning. A new cycle that's not built on old stories, but on a deeper knowing of who you've become. And this is why writing that affirmation each morning, "I am the center of light in my life," is so powerful. You're not just speaking to the day ahead. You're shaping the energy that builds your future. Cosmic signals don't always shout. Sometimes they tap you on the shoulder when the world is quiet. Seeing repeating numbers like 1111 or 555 is often a sign that your energy is aligning with a new pattern, that the choices you're making, even the tiny ones, are echoing through realms you can't yet see. When you notice them, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what was I just thinking or feeling? That moment may be more significant than you realize. You may also sense the presence of someone who has passed on, an ancestor, a loved one, or simply a quiet warmth that feels familiar. These aren't ghosts. They are echoes of support. Gentle confirmations that you are not alone in your becoming. And if you've been dreaming of water, unfamiliar places, or faces from the past, know this: these images are not random. Water often symbolizes emotional flow and transformation. A new location in a dream might suggest you're ready to shift your inner landscape. And old faces may represent the return of lessons once learned, now ready to be lived differently. So Leo, slow down enough to see the signs. Trust your eyes when they linger on a color. Trust your heart when a number stirs something in you. And if you've seen any of these symbols lately, gold, turquoise, 1, 19, 1111, the feeling of a presence, leave a comment below and share what it meant to you. The universe speaks, but sometimes it speaks through you. Leo, the fire within you is no longer sleeping. It's rising quietly, steadily, unshakably. And the most beautiful truth? You don't need permission to shine. You never did. You are the permission. You are the light others have been looking for without realizing it. And right now, something is shifting in the very structure of your soul. The maps are changing. The coordinates of love, career, health, relationships, and your spiritual path are being rewritten. But the pennant has always been in your hands. The astrology this week didn't come to shake you for no reason. It came to awaken you. To ask, are you still waiting for the perfect moment, or will you become the moment? The cosmic activations you've heard today weren't just poetic ideas, they are living instructions. Like golden threads waiting to be followed. And every time you reflect, pause, and choose differently, even in the tiniest way, you send a ripple through your entire timeline. Maybe you've felt the tremble of change under your feet lately. A restlessness. A knowing that something bigger is near but undefined. That's not fear, it's your power knocking on the inside of your ribcage, asking to be let out. You can no longer shrink into who you used to be and feel at peace. Because your future self has already started speaking. Maybe in dreams. Maybe through numbers. Maybe through the deep yearning that seems to appear when everything else gets quiet. This week, you're being asked to make a subtle yet profound choice. Will you stand still in a story that no longer fits, or will you walk forward as someone the world has never met before? Not because you need to become someone else, but because it's time to become more of who you already are. That fire? It's never gone out. It's just been waiting for the right breath to fan it alive. So breathe, Leo. Not the shallow kind. The deep, real breath that comes from your belly. From your truth. From that unshakable place inside you that remembers you are meant to lead, not from control, but from presence. This is the moment to reclaim your voice. Not just in words, but in how you show up to your life. To your mornings. To your silence. To your relationships. To your art. To your own mirror. Everything the universe is activating now is conspiring in your favor, but it needs your movement. It needs your trust. It needs you to say yes to the unknown, not because it promises clarity, but because it promises truth. And truth, no matter how raw, will always set your life in motion in the direction of purpose. Maybe you don't know exactly where you're going yet. But you can feel what you're no longer willing to carry. That's more than enough to begin. So here is your invitation. Step into it like a leader. A leader of your own life. Let your hands release what's heavy. Let your voice speak what matters. Let your body rest when it's tired and rise when it's ready. And let your heart, finally, receive what it has long been calling in. And now, if this message resonates with your soul, I want you to take a small but powerful action. Scroll down and comment, I am ready to step into the best version of myself. Not just to write it, but to declare it to the universe. Because when we speak our readiness, the universe listens and moves. Thank you, truly, for walking this path with eternal mindfulness. If today's message touched your spirit, helped you see more clearly, or simply reminded you of your own light, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs a little spark. This is how we keep the light moving. Until we meet again, may the next door open just as you take your next breath.